the first one to suss out, I don't tend to use this phrase quite as much, but it's used a lot in society around adults, but I think kids do this too. Again, we put them in this long day, they have all these activities, and a parent will say, well, they were in school, that's like 8-9 hours, and then they went to football, and then you're thinking, well, that's another 2 hours. So the expectation of coming in around 8 p.m. and going to bed around 9, that's just really fast. Again, just going to that point of, here's someone that just hasn't had time to regulate yet. We talk about in neurodivergent culture, that first blue bubble on top about self-led time, important for everybody, but really particularly important to us is to have that time where you're just in charge of yourself. So coming home from all these activities, making sure this person has what seems to be enough time to watch TV, go on their video games, chat to a friend, do what they want to do on their own timing. So again, this is really focusing in on that daytime. If sleep is an issue, we tend to say to people, I know they might be enjoying all their activities, and so it's a really hard choice. But if we've decided sleep is a priority, we really need to think, just for now, and maybe just for a couple months, of really reducing that timetable. Let sleep happen, and then we can add things back in. Another point on this is, I think it's with this page too. Yes, is during all these activities, young people are pretty much in the activities and school where it's adult-led. There's high behavior expectations, and there's a lot of executive function pressure. So that was that skill set that we've talked about before, but it has to do with that frontal lobe part of the brain, all those skills around emotional regulation, completing tasks, being able to perform in a group. And so it's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of demands, and they're facing that then for hours at a time. So it makes sense that we really need to create time for them to let all that go. So again, the expectation then, when parents will say, well, I want them in bed by 8:30, but if they're coming in at 8 o'clock, I go, well, it's an unreasonable expectation. Something else needs to move. Either the bedtime, we just are fine with it being later, so that way they've had time to regulate, or maybe we can pull something earlier into the day, so that way they can come home earlier, start to cool down and start to regulate, and then they'll be ready for bedtime. And another layer to this is in all of these activities, very often the neurodivergent person is in the school setting or in these activities where they're not neurodivergent led. So meaning this person is typically having to spend most of their day masking, or in that conscious or unconscious process of trying not to fidget, trying not to stim, trying to give eye contact, trying to fit in. And that's also exhausting. So again, pointing to that schedule and trying to reduce how much pressure is on this person, or again, realizing that was another layer of pressure. So that means we are even more needing this regulation time in the evening to just let it go, somewhere to just be in their safe space at home before we can expect them to be ready for bed, if that makes sense. It's all that time. It's just so long days. I feel it too. Let's see. So that's usually the first thing that I look at when families say that their child's going to bed way too late. This is kind of the first thing I try to suss out. Say, all right, let's look at this daytime.